Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. It is now day 2 of America having the worst outbreak of the coronavirus in the world. And if there's a single life-saving thing we need right now above all else, it is more ventilators. We know from everything we have seen that a shockingly high percentage of people with the virus will need to be hospitalized. And because of the way this virus works, its way through the lungs, many will find themselves unable to breathe on their own. They need a machine to breathe for them. That's what a ventilator does. If these critically ill patients get a ventilator, their chances of surviving go way up. If they do not, they are much more likely to die. American hospitals are not equipped for the scale of ventilator need presented by this pandemic. And this has been clear, I want to make this clear, for a long time, including in the National Security Council handbook for a pandemic given to the Trump administration by the Obama administration, and in a pandemic simulation practiced by the Trump administration itself, codenamed Crimson Contagion, that found, and I quote here, states experienced multiple challenges requesting resources from the federal government due to a lack of standardized, well-understood, and properly executed resource request processes. This administration's own war games told them that they need to be more prepared. And so now, in New York City, doctors are already hacking ventilators themselves to split them between multiple patients. New York's Governor Andrew Cuomo said the state can need up to 30,000 machines in just the next few weeks. This is a simple matter of life and death, okay? If we don't get the ventilators, more people will die. It's not complicated. But the president seems to think that the whole ventilator thing is some kind of con job.
New York is a bigger deal, but it's going to go also. But I have a feeling that a lot of the numbers that are being said in some areas are just bigger than they're going to be. I don't believe you need 40,000 or 30,000 ventilators. You know, you go into major hospitals sometimes, they'll have 2 ventilators. And now all of a sudden they're saying, can we order 30,000 ventilators?
First of all of a sudden, he said, all of a sudden, what's going on? You need a lot of ventilators. All of a sudden is this pandemic. That's what the whole thing's about. That's what all of a sudden is. Yes. All of a sudden, thousands of people need ventilators who did not need them a few months ago because of the pandemic that has shut down 2/3 of the country. That's all of the sudden. That's the pandemic our government did not prepare for. And what is becoming clearer by the day is that there is such a complete disconnect between what the president says and the frontline medical workers who are right now fighting this disease. Listen to how this ICU nurse in Michigan describes her new reality earlier this week.
So today was the first day that I've worked since our unit was designated the second COVID ICU in my hospital. And I don't know what the just happened for the past 13 hours. Honestly, guys, it felt like I was working in a war zone. Completely isolated from my team members, limited resources, limited supplies, limited responses from physicians because they're just as overwhelmed as we are dealing with a ton of other stuff. So basically, I just spent the last 13 hours treating 2 critically ill COVID patients on the vent, basically by myself. And this is my new normal for the next however many months that it takes for this virus to die down. So, I'm already breaking. So for people, please take this seriously. This is so bad.
This is so bad. But it's actually worse than that. Yesterday, the New York Times reported that the Trump administration backed away from a deal for General Motors to produce ventilators because the price tag was too high. Oh, and because, quote, listen to this, some government officials expressed concern about the possibility of ordering too many ventilators, leaving them with an expensive surplus. They were worried about having too many ventilators. God forbid we would have them the next time we have a global pandemic, or maybe share them with the rest of the world when they need them. And not only did the president nix that GM plan as of a few hours ago, he refused to use the Defense Production Act to mandate the production of them. And then late this afternoon, he changed his mind, announcing he was requiring GM to accept, perform, and prioritize federal contracts for ventilators using the Defense Production Act. Of course, the production of those ventilators will be probably a month away. I want to be as clear as possible on this. If there are not sufficient ventilators, people will needlessly die. End of story. The situation